We've got a big crowd, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have come out for our demonstration. We've got lots of space, so come in and surround our stage. This is going to be a demonstration in the round. So everybody flow to the sides so that everybody who's coming in has space. So flow to the sides, flow to the sides. Our first MC for the second rally is Teresa Gutierrez from the May 1st Coalition. Give it up for Teresa.
Try to get over here so I can get rid of that light overgain on my camera.
Our next speaker is going to be Malik. She is with the Desi's Rising Up movement, organizing immigrants, organizing people for their rights, and marching with every single anti-war demonstration in this city. You will always see drum. So please welcome Sister Manabi.
For 10 years, we've seen firsthand himself did not commit any act, yet he was sentenced to 30 years. On the same day, after the sentencing, late into the night, immigration officers raided our home and took us away to a detention center. Now my son is in Terre Haute, Indiana prison in a communications management unit designed specifically for Muslim and political prisoners. My son's case was filed just days before the 2004 Republican National Convention in order to create anti-Muslim hysteria amongst Americans and to create justification for American wars. Just as there are wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other Muslim countries, there is a war against Muslims and immigrants here in America, which seeks to silence our voices and our dissent. Today, the situation within America and the rest of the world is in front of you. To create peace and justice, we need to change the system. We must end the oppression, the injustice, close the prisons, and end the wars. We are not afraid. We will not be silent, and we will continue to fight.
We need you to, in a very slow and disciplined way, in order to accommodate everyone, we need people to move to our stage right. We need y'all to flow in over there. Great, great. People are starting to do it. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, well, we need to pray.
So that everybody in the back can fill in as much as possible.
I think it's mostly we're trying to.
Thank you very much.
We need to find someone. Maybe it's not going to be.
And you can also flow stage left. I always wanted to say that, stage left. Okay. All right, so please continue to go in the area. All right, our next speaker is a former mayor of Norwalk, Connecticut, a syndicated newspaper columnist, and a national board member of Vets for Peace. Give it up, please, for Bill Collins from Vets for Peace.
Actually, I'm on the left, whether I'm on stage or not. Maybe I'll go down. You're all right. Mr. President. Mr. President, Mr. Obama, sir. We veterans do not question that you were born in the United States of America or that you are our legal leader. We are becoming suspicious, however, that you may have been born in an alternative universe. You seem to have a fascination with war and sending our troops to participate. You're making veterans faster than we can assimilate them. We think it's time, Mr. President, that maybe we should not make so many veterans because so many of the ones who come home find that their life is not worth living from the terrible things they've had to see and do in the war. We want you, please, to stop already. We would like you to support our troops by bringing them home.
The executive director of the oldest and largest peace organization in the country, Peace Action New York, Alicia Gosberg.
less money for wars, but not for our schools, our communities, or the most needy. While the wealthiest and the corporations avoid paying their taxes, you and I pay. But our money is used for military research and development, foreign military bases, nuclear weapons research, and wars. We are sick and tired of our elected officials prioritizing profit and war over human needs. Today we stand here together and we have to continue to work for peace. Because war salesmen are loud and tireless, and they always have a seat at power's table. To flourish, war demands nothing from the citizen. It's peace that demands action. Thank you for being here today all day and for acting. Don't let your voices be silenced by the profiteers of war. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are representative of the spirited, wonderful Asian contingent that was here today, and it will be first represented by the chair of FION USA, Bernadette Alleran, who is also a co-coordinator of the May 1st Coalition. Please welcome Bernadette Alleran.
Hello. It's great to see the thousands of people out here today in struggle over all the issues that we're organizing around with the movement against U.S. militarism around the world. Muratil for Korean Community Development is disgusted, simply disgusted by the fact that the U.S. intervened in Libya. We know, as Korean Americans and Koreans around the world, that the U.S. intervened on the Korean Peninsula, and we have been at war for 61 years. We know the cost of war. We know how much military bases cost, and we know on the Korean Peninsula how it has divided our families and friends and turned us into enemies. We know that the war at home is about workers, healthcare. When my family, when my mother, a healthcare provider, has to come home and share her frustrations about how to sacrifice her patient's needs over the rights of insurance companies, we know there's a problem in this country. It's not just U.S. militarism, it's a war at home on health and human services. We are here today in solidarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You look beautiful. When Dr. King said that the bombs in Vietnam exploded home, I know that he was talking about the place where I teach, second grade, in Harlem, New York City. We know that every budget is really an admission of priorities. And what these budget battles today show is we are not the priority, but war is. We are told there's no money for chalk, there's no money for supplies, there's no money for teachers. But I'll bet you one thing, the bombs in Libya, the money for that will never run out. Had they not gone to war in Iraq, they could have sent every single 3- and 4-year-old in this country to preschool. They could have given a 4-year free college scholarship to 40 million young people in this country, and they could have hired 16 million teachers. It does not have to be the way it is right now. We know that we are not a priority. The disgraced, know-nothing, former schools chancellor Kathy Black would never have been picked to run the Pentagon, because the Pentagon is a priority. But they have a different plan for public education, and that is to destroy us. The old anti-war slogan has never been truer than it is today. We need money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. Thank you.
Our next speaker needs very little introduction, but for those who don't know, this is a long-time anti-war activist, Cindy Sheehan, whose son, Casey Sheehan, was killed in Iraq. Please welcome Cindy Sheehan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah! Sabotage.
Leave it to me to break the stage. Hello? Hello? Okay. I won't touch it. So, yeah, you guys all do look absolutely gorgeous out there. And I know you feel the same about me. Thank you. But I only have 90 seconds, so I have to talk really fast. I think everybody here today knows that the wars are BS. I think everybody knows that it's not just the Republican people who are making wars on other countries, war on women, wars on all the wars we talk about. It's not just the Republican half of the capitalist corporatist parties. Of course it's not. We have a Democratic administration now. We had Democrats in power. It was a total Democratic tyranny for 2 years. And here, our country is going down the crapper economically. I can tell you, people say that there's only 2 things guaranteed in life, death and taxes. I can guarantee you 1 more thing, or 3 more things. If you vote for a Democrat or Republican, you're voting for more war. You're voting for more economic oppression, and you're voting for more environmental devastation. And I'm going to challenge you today. This is beautiful. This is wonderful. Take this energy and don't let it stop. If anybody here wants to go to Lafayette Square in front of the White House and make it our career square, I'm there with you. We have to go. We can't stop. We can't leave. Thank you. Our next speaker represents the oldest women's peace organization in the world. She represents the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Pat O'Brien.
This is unbelievable. Thank you all for coming. This is the biggest, most wonderful march I've seen in years. And we have been working so hard. This committee has worked so hard to make this happen. And thank you all, every one of you, for coming.
microphone.
End war in World War I. Who could have foreseen that so many wars would follow with so much war and devastation? It's unbelievable. So in this war, the sucking lifeblood out of all of us, all the citizens who are hungry, homeless, without rights, that should be guaranteed for every human being. So I thank you again all for coming, and I would say take 30 seconds, a moment of silence, for all those people who are suffering. Thank you. Please welcome our next speaker from Steve Downs of Project Salam, who does a lot of work in defending and stopping the attacks on innocent Muslims, and with the National Coalition to Protect Civil Freedoms to stop FBI profiling. Please welcome Steve Downs.
Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. We live in a time of fear and repression brought to us by our own government. The government secretly records our conversations without probable cause, enabling terrorism charges against us, Muslims, peace activists, environmentalists, simply for communicating with certain designated groups in our effort to bring peace and justice in the world. A disguised FBI agent pretending friendship may try to con you into a contrived crime. Before trial, the prosecution may put you into solitary confinement. It may torture and isolate you there, outside of the world, contact with the world for years, until you are so mentally damaged you can't defend yourself and have no alternative but to plead guilty. The government calls this preemptive prosecution. We call it creating fake terrorists. After conviction, the government may put you in a predominantly Muslim prison that isolates its prisoners from the world like dangerous viruses. The government can trample on the rights of immigrants, hold them under inhuman conditions, and summarily deport them without concern for the welfare of their families. Our constitutional rights have been sacrificed to the hysteria of Islamophobia and the fear of immigrants. Project Salam is dedicated to restoring the justice that fear has taken from you. But each of you is also part of this solution. You must all go out, tell your colleagues, your friends, and even the people you disagree with that we do not have anything to fear from the Muslim community. We do not have anything to fear from immigrants. We don't have anything to fear from peace. Show by your example that we are not afraid of each other. Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to hear from some of the imams and activists from the Muslim civil rights community who have made this march such a success. And to organize it will be Dr. Sheikh Ubaid, who's the co-chair of the New York chapter of the Muslim Peace Coalition.
Assalamu alaikum. Congratulations again. Let me now call a dynamic young lady, Khadija Begum, who is associated with the Muslim Student Association of Rutgers University, and she will be introducing some of the speakers. Khadija Begum.
Assalamu alaikum. So the next speaker is Imam Shamsi Ali. He's the Imam of the Islamic Culture Center of New York City in Jamaica, Islamic Center, and he's a well-known Islamic scholar. Imam Shamsi Ali.
Assalamu alaikum.
voices are coming together. We don't see around us what religions that you follow, because you are you rich or poor? We are all Americans, we are all human beings. I am really dreaming America one day, the America that we are representing today, the world that we are representing today, which is embracive, away from hatred, away from divisiveness, and that's why we like to remind ourselves that radicalism is our common enemy. Radicalism as Muslims, it is our enemy. Terrorism, it is our enemy. But remember America. America now, we are worried that it is being hijacked by radical politicians. Tea parties is being hijacking the United States of America at this time. This is the party that is spreading out hatred against Muslims, against immigrants, against Africans, against fellow Americans. It's the time right now, because we love this country, we love America, to take America into the right direction. It is our obligation, religious and civic obligation. Thank you, and you are religious or non-religious, thank you for taking part today. Assalamu alaikum.
Our next speaker is Imam Muhammad Kabdilani. He's the Imam of the Islamic Center of Passaic County, New Jersey, and a well-known Islamic scholar.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious. We are here because we are all Americans. We are here because we are Americans. We are Muslims, Christians, Jews, together for justice and peace for all. Today, we want to tell everybody that we here against radicalism, terrorism, and wars for any reason. No wars, no terrorism, no radicalism, no extremism. We are with balanced way of life, together, side by side, united for justice and peace. My brothers and sisters, today, we want to tell everybody that this is America. America is here. Where is America? America is here. We want to say to our President Obama, we are very upset of you. You said that we want the change, but you didn't make the change. The change happened in Egypt. That's right. The change happened in Egypt, not in America. We want the change here in America. We want the change here in America. Justice for all, peace for all, love for all, living together, one nation under one God. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Let me now invite another young Muslim activist, Sheikh Abdurrahman Ubaid. He is a former president of the Muslim Student Association of St. John's University, and he will introduce our next speakers.
Assalamu alaikum. How you guys all doing? All right. The first speaker I would like to introduce is Sister Ishrat Rui. She's a member of Muslim Ummah of North America, one of the largest national Bangladeshi American grassroots organizations.
Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you. First, I want to thank everyone for being here today. We are here to demand the freedom to choose how our money is spent and to choose the future we want. Did you know that every minute $186,000 are going into the Iraqi war alone? Funding that should be going into education and into the development of creating America's future leaders is instead being invested in violence. The youth are being the most effective out of this. Has the war made us Americans safer? No. We have created more enemies and are more threatened now more than ever before. And we are in an ongoing recession, and yet over 20% of American tax dollars go into the military alone, whereas only 4% goes into education. Trillions of dollars have been spent on the wars. Funding for schools has has been sacrificed for war. This is injustice. As Martin Luther King Jr. stated, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We must take back our freedom to choose the future we want. It is an injustice to the American youth to have to pay for American imperialism. We need to stand up and stand together against these injustices. This rally is a continuation of the long struggle for justice, peace, and prosperity for America. Assalamu alaikum.
The next speaker I would like to introduce is Sister Lana Safa. She's a member of the Muslim American Society, one of the largest national Muslim grassroots organizations. Sister Lana?
You know, for a while now, I've been hearing statements about how Muslim women like myself are oppressed. And you know what? They're all right. We are oppressed. We're oppressed by those who would sow fear and hate to stop us from building houses of worship in Tennessee and Georgia and Bridgewater, New Jersey, in Brooklyn, Staten Island, and Manhattan. We're oppressed by wars funded by U.S. dollars, while just yesterday the U.S. government was threatened by a partial shutdown. By dollars funding Islamophobic campaigns while women's shelters here in the United States struggle to stay open. We struggle by dictators who say we're on drugs when we scream out the truth. We struggle to get out from under that oppression, from the brave women bloggers who started the uprisings in the Middle East to the brave souls who, in spite of the mortal danger, walk against the tyrants, to the women who are in the forefront of the civic movement in these United States. Sharia law is not my oppressor. Ignorance is. Islam is not the enemy. Those who hijack it for their own agendas are. Stand up for all the oppressed Muslim women by saying no to ignorance, no to war, no to Islamophobia, no to any and all forms of terrorism. Every one of you has made a difference by coming out here today. Thanks to you and the United National Anti-War Committee, this rally is the first step towards a free tomorrow.
Now I'd like to call Brother Ziad Ramadan, who is the Executive Director of CARE New York, the largest Muslim civil rights organization. Brother Ziad.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with all these beautiful people on a beautiful spring day in beautiful Tahrir Square. Tahrir Square, because this is Freedom Square, because our freedoms are under threat. You know, she was talking about oppressed women. I know a very famous oppressed woman. She stands alone in the harbor with a book in her hand and a light that's dim, and I see a tear coming from her eye because our liberties are being threatened. That's right. Yeah! Just yesterday, the State Senate in New York, they had a Homeland Security hearing, and they wanted to take on two issues only in connection with security in America: Muslims and immigrants. Not all of us. You know, a friend of mine said, "Hey, who's the chair of that committee? Glenn Beck?" I said, "Close, Greg Ball." Well, him and David Duke, Peter King, right? They're trying to oppress and they're trying to undermine our constitutional liberties. Because that's what we have that glues us together in this country. And everybody's constitutional liberties we must stand up for. Because once one group loses it, guess what? The next one loses it. So I say to you, this is the beautiful America that I know, that I came for the opportunity to avoid religious persecution, to avoid political persecution. It's a beautiful country that stands unified together for what is best about our nation. So peace to you all, and thank you so much for standing together. And I want to introduce to you Cyrus McGoldrick from CARE New York to do a piece.
Assalamu alaikum. It's beautiful to see you all here today, and I expect that this square be part of the solution, because for so long this square has been part of the problem. In this building right here, I saw Fahad Hashmi held without due process. In this building, I saw Dr. Afia Siddiqui sentenced. I just had a few words for you. My time is short. Just remember to stay in the midst of persecution, in the midst of violence, to stay peaceful, to stay on the straight path. From the plots of the wicked I run, while they stay plotting on the streets I'm from. Lord, keep me safe from the government guns. Lord, keep me safe from the government guns. From the plots of the wicked I run, while they stay plotting on the streets I'm from. Lord, keep me safe from the government guns. Lord, keep me safe from the government guns. Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings be upon you. Much love.
Next we have Stephen Chidlin, who's been of inestimable help to planning to the United National Anti-War Committee. He's an Episcopal minister and a lifetime member of the Fellowship of Reconciliation and other peace groups. Stephen Chidlin.
It's a great joy for me to be here today and to be able to follow the sequence by chance of wonderful Muslim leaders, because it's a special opportunity for me to say I live in penitence for what the church has done for centuries to Muslims throughout the world. I'm here because of a wonderful girl named Ruby, who's 6 years old. I'm here because, as a speaker just recently said, our life's blood is draining away because of the war, and that's going to affect Ruby. So we are right now a suicidal nation, and the line was drawn last night and this morning when the impasse was broken at the cost of an additional $5 billion cuts. So we are going to have to gather again in Washington, the way they did in Foley Square, the way they did in Wisconsin, and when you or I wake up in the morning and say, I'm too tired to go, think about Ruby. Think about your own children and get up and go, even if it means camping out and staying there until we have justice. God bless you all.
Before we take our next speaker, I just want to alert Sky Keys to begin to get the buckets ready. Sky Keys, can you prepare your troops? Our next speaker is Kazam Ansam from Solidarity, Iran.
Money for job and education, not for war and occupation. Thanks to Europe, this is a historic moment, because Muslims of Africa and Middle East, side by side with the people of Latin America, are sacrificing their lives for themselves, to free themselves from imperialist domination, exploitation, and neoliberalism. Victory of Islamic Revolution in 1979 was a great blow to U.S. imperialism. During the last 33 years, we have faced military aggression, economic sanctions, numerous kinds of terrorism, all backed by U.S. imperialism and the government. That's why we are in great solidarity with the people of Libya and people of Middle East and people of North Africa. We also condemn the dirty tricks of the flame of religious war between Sunni and Shia Muslims in order to prevent of Arabs and North Africa. Sunnis and Shia have lived together for hundreds of years. This game of diversion, manipulation, and deception cannot destroy our unity. Long excellent, wonderful job and education after war and occupation.
Our next speaker is Manajeh from the Raha Iranian Feminist Collective.
Hi everyone, it's great to see you all out here today. From the Raha Iranian Feminist Collective, and we are against war and occupation because these are the forces that crush self-determination, that stamp out democracy, and that strengthen the most repressive and misogynist forces in any society. If genuine liberation comes from below and can never be imposed by bombs or bullets, then we have to oppose U.S. military and economic aggression towards Iran, while at the same time supporting the popular movements for democracy, economic, gender, and sexual justice underway in Iranian society today. The modern Iranian women's movement was forged during the 1979 revolution against U.S. imperialism and the Shah's dictatorship. But Iranian women realized, faster than most, that just getting rid of the U.S. and its puppet king wasn't enough to achieve real liberation for women, workers, and the poor. Iranian women resisted the consolidation of power under Khomeini, and to this day, feminist activists in Iran are at the forefront of the mass popular opposition to President Ahmadinejad's brutal right-wing regime. Every time the U.S. threatens Iran with military intervention, every time President Obama imposes a new round of sanctions on Iran, which he has done twice already, he gives Ahmadinejad another excuse to repress dissent in the name of national unity. Sanctions hurt ordinary people in Iran, not the government, and we have to unequivocally oppose the U.S. when it tries to force its will on any other nation. Iranians know firsthand that the U.S. brings dictatorship, not democracy. We support the fight against militarism, patriarchy, and dictatorship. Thank you.